All right. Hello, everybody. It is April 25th here, and we're going to get started. If anybody's got questions, comments, anything you want to share, go ahead and unmute and come on out.
Hello, John.
Hello.
Okay, so claim, proof, benefit. I used it in the film proposal and submitted it to my producer. He was very much impressed with it. And then I added a fourth component, and it's called how to. The point was that we did the benefits thing about why would our production company be a good production company to do this feature, and then the how to went into budget controls and using new technology, and then also social media to get the word out. So I just kudos back to you. Thank you. And that's how I'm engaged in using it. And I'm still working on my trading program for uniqueness and niche market.
Awesome.
And then I touched this with you. Do you remember the Melissa Tone? She was she was a producer thing called Duck Punk Productions, and I met with her for about an hour yesterday, and we talked about my niche market and my programming and my trading system and ideas, and she's very much on rail to help me work with the social media put out in about 30 days. We'll see what happens. So cool. That's my report. And but thank you. Claim, proof, benefit, and how to do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that is one of the most cool formulas that is in the ACT program. And it's been working since Benjamin Franklin. I don't know if he created it. He was the first one I could ever find that actually used it. So I don't know if he actually came up with that or if he gleaned that off of some other brilliant marketer of the day or what, but that is really a powerful, powerful formula. And yeah, for those of you that don't know what it is, it's a way to formulate a new belief. And what we call it is an elimination or an objection eliminator. It will eliminate any objection because all objections are based on beliefs. And if you have a belief that's against you, your chances of making a sale are next to nothing. So you've got to identify those beliefs that are against you and somehow reverse them. And when I say somehow, you have a formula to do that. That's the claim, proof, benefit that we can thank Benjamin Franklin for, because again, he's the first place I ever saw it used. So I imagine he may have created it. He was a brilliant creator and created all kinds of stuff. So anyway, that's a pretty cool deal. All right, anybody else? Melody, you look like you were ready to come out there. No, I guess not.
Hey, John.
Hey, Anthony.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Good, good. I wanted to talk about, I have a site, and it looks like it's a Google Dance situation. Okay. Some of the background on the site, it's got about 1,000 pages it's a review site. Now, in this niche, the supplement niche, it seems to be based on SEMrush. Anything over 1,000 reviews, you're like, those seem to be the top sites. They have 1,000 pages or more. The very top ranking sites have between 3,000 to 5,000 pages that are indexed on SEMrush. This site, the 1,000 pages were added in the last few months. For the last 6 weeks, it's disappeared. It's all the way pushed down. Okay. What I did was, you told me a couple of weeks ago, some of the best information is if I go into the belly of the beast and register for Google Webmaster tools. You said, I know you don't want to do it. So I bit the bullet and I did it. And it's pretty interesting information because it's right from Google. Yeah. And I have the site in there. There are no manual penalties on the site, according to Google. What do you think is going on? I mean, 6 weeks, is this
And
a long time?
you say basically you just loaded all these new pages?
These have been in there for about 2.5 months, and I had quite a few pages on page one, and they're all off.
Oh,
I checked SEM, like they're like number 30, number 40 in these different keywords
okay.
ranking.
Yeah, I mean, it very well could be that dance, because a lot of times when Google finds a page, what they'll do is they want to test it. They want to test new stuff. So they're very likely to take a new page and immediately boost it up to the top to see what happens. Now, here's the thing with RankBrain. If they put you up there, it's a test. You know, they're basically doing a split test to see how you perform against their current producers. And if you do perform, then you'll stick and you'll climb. If you don't perform, then guess what? you get bounced off. So that's kind of the formula for their new algorithm base. It's a constant AI split test. Google is learning what is valuable to the users.
And the definition of performing well is basically bounce rate and time on page.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So
if they put you,
if you're over 2 minutes, if you're over 2 minutes time on page, and you have less than 20% bounce rate, that's performing well. Basically.
That really doesn't apply across the board. You've got to look at the particular niche, and they're different. Like a particular keyword might have a completely different set of rules than a keyword right next to it. Like, for instance, in the dental arena, dentists have a very high bounce rate. It's just common across the board. So that wouldn't play into account near as much as if you were in another different niche where bounce rate was typically low and you came in with a high one, then you'd have a big problem. So it really depends on your niche. Most niches, yes, you want a low bounce rate. Most niches, yes, you want as much time on site as possible, just as a general rule of thumb. But to put exact percentages to all of that, you can't do that because every keyword is going to be different. That's the thing about the thing that's really powerful about RankBrain is it truly is AI. You know, it's artificial intelligence figuring out on the fly what things should be.
Right. So the number one review site in this supplement niche, it has over 1 million visitors a month. There's 4,000 pages. Their bounce rate is 86% according to SEMrush. And I'm not even sure, does that mean 14% bounce rate? It can't be 86% bounce rate.
It could be, yeah. There's a lot of sites that have a very high bounce rate. You know, one of the things that could be is they might have gone a couple pages deep, but eventually they bounced back up and they bounced back to Google. You know, another thing that is called is Pogo-Sticking. I don't know if you've heard that or not, but that's a term that is loosely being used around the industry now. It's called Pogo-Sticking. And we've actually incorporated that into our SitePop program by Pogo-Sticking into a search result and bouncing back on Google itself and actually putting in a new search phrase. So by doing that Pogo-Sticking onto the search page and then back to the search result to refine it, we've Pogo-Sticked against Google, basically telling them, hey, we didn't get what we wanted. And then the Google algorithm is now figuring out, okay, there's people here that when they start the search term, they're really looking for this site. So we should just put it up there right away. So
that's interesting. So there's a dynamic to this. There's a different dynamic to this Pogo. I've never heard about this.
Yeah, it's a lot deeper than everybody thinks. They just look at, you know, the superficial stuff like the bounce rate. But what happens after the bounce? You know, do they bounce off of your site and then refine the search and then find what they were really looking for? Because Google, that's really their main thing, is they're figuring out what's the intent, what's the ultimate user intent of the search. And if they can figure that out, they can extrapolate that out, and they can make it easier on the future searchers by anticipating what they really wanted. Does that make sense?
Okay. Sure. So 6 weeks now so far that the site's been put down. How long? I heard you say once 3 months is the outer limit.
Well, that's the longest I've seen. I don't know that there is an outer
after
limit.
3 months. Okay. So if there's no manual penalties, and if you're going into 3 months, at that point you would give up on the site, or
no,
you don't really, I should come back soon.
I would say at the 6 week point, if you've bounced and you're down 6 weeks at this point, I would say it's time to probably shift gears and try and do something different. I wouldn't ever abandon the site, because when you do that, basically you throw in the towel on it, and you basically submit that, hey, okay, I screwed this site up and I'm abandoning it. And now Google's looking at, okay, well, he did that. Where's he going now? So that's,
okay.
You don't want that. Like, I've had sites that they were in places where we used to play to find out, where the edges were. And that's how I knew how long that manual ban lasted. I had sites that I kept on for 2 years that were completely kicked out of Google. I kept them on the radar, doing nothing differently. And it was exactly 2 years to the date. They went back into the index, and they were stronger than they ever were to begin with. Because since I kept with it, Google decided, okay, well, hey, this must be for real. And it was almost like that site then had diplomatic immunity. You couldn't do any wrong with it. So
if you had if there were duplicate content issues on a site, I would see that in the search console. They would tell me that, or would they not tell me?
Generally they do. And with duplicate content, what they'll do, Google doesn't want to junk up its index with the same stuff. So when it finds duplicate content, there was a lot of people that said, oh, I'm going to get penalized for duplicate content. They didn't really understand the game. They're not really getting penalized. Google's just trying to decide which of these versions is the real one, and then the rest of them they just disregard. That's not a penalty. They've just decided which one is real.
If you have, with the basic format of these other competitor review sites is that they'll review a product, and then they'll throw in a couple of lines of the product that they're endorsing, because all these review sites are selling basically a few products.
Sure.
What I'm doing, I may do it a little more on the sites where there's 2 or 3 paragraphs in the second half of these reviews for all the products. There's 2 or 3 paragraphs. That's not duplicate content. You don't think Google's going to say this company is trying to get free?
No, I don't think that's going to be an issue really at all. One of the things you might want to do, I know you're using SEMrush, which is great. I love that product. I use that on a daily basis. But
yeah, it's great. Yeah.
You might also want to go to SimilarWeb. What SimilarWeb will do is it doesn't give you the nitty-gritty details that SEMrush does, but it will give you some stuff on the outer fringes that you may not get in SEMrush. Stuff like, where is their other traffic sources coming from? And you might just compare that. If you've got somebody that's beating you, you want to look at all aspects of why they're beating you. And it might just be the sheer volume of traffic they have coming in from multiple sources.
Right. I wanted to pick up on that, because it seems like this site with 4,000 pages, and it's the number one. Any review that they put out is on page 1.
Yeah.
And it seems to be, and you've said this a few times recently, sheer volume. They have so many pages that Google just sees them and they're going to be on page one.
Yeah. Now here's another thing about sheer volume. When I say sheer volume, there's two categories of that. There's sheer volume of content or pages, and then there's sheer volume of traffic. And they're two different things. The one can work against you. If you have sheer volume in pages that don't have traffic, like let's say you had 1,000 pages and only 20 of them had a decent volume of traffic, you would do yourself well to prune some of the ones that didn't have traffic.
Right. That's interesting because this number one site with 4,000 pages, I checked this through on SEMrush. 60% of their pages, 60% of these 4,000 pages seem to have 0 visitors a month or like under 50. And I remember, because you said, if no one's clicking on the page, how are they still ranked so high?
Okay, well,
60%.
In SEMrush, that volume, that's not visitors, that's volume of people searching that term.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that's
maybe I misread it. Okay.
Yeah, that's the volume of searches for the particular keyword phrase. So if you go to SimilarWeb, it will give you more of an idea of the volume of traffic that the site is actually receiving.
Okay.
So that might give you, more of a look. But that is one of the bigger things that has been identified by a lot of the guys in SEO that test stuff. There's guys out there that are just sadistic testers. They will spend, hours and hours of brain power on testing little variants and variations. And one of the things that they came up with was pruning a website. Like if you've got all these multiple pages and they all kind of talk about the same thing, but one of them is getting all the traffic, one of them is getting all the volume. You are best to take the pages that are not getting volume that could be combined, prune those pages off the website so the site actually has less pages, but more content on the pages that are getting the volume, because it will keep the people there longer. And it adds up. It's a snowball effect.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. So it's a complete snowball effect in a positive way to allow you to rank better.
Okay. So this Google dance, that's a matter of weeks generally. It's not, and if it's a newer site, it's only, and if more than a few weeks, then there's a problem.
I would say if it's more than 6 weeks, then it's probably not a dance. Google's just kind of decided that's where the site belongs. And in that case, now it's time to start shifting your effort to how you can improve that.
Okay.
Because like I said, you'll see these dances, and sometimes what they'll do, they'll drop you off in favor of putting others up to try and find a better match. It's like a continuous split test going on.
These initial decisions on a site where if they say that's where you belong, which is down, will they revisit that decision, or is that a final decision on a site?
No. There is no final decision ever as far as search engine optimization goes. It can seem that way, but there's never a final decision. Like if you do other stuff that makes them take a look, some of the stuff that would do that would be, let's say you had a few new, really powerful incoming links, and they were bringing traffic to the site, and the traffic was showing a positive user experience. That is something that would trigger another shot at the title.
Aha.
I mean, look at this as a boxing match. If you want to get back in the ring, you've got to look like a contender.
Good analogy.
Yeah, if you want another shot at the title, you got to look like you deserve it.
Right.
Otherwise, they're not going to put you in the ring, especially if you've been in the ring before and you got defeated badly.
Right.
You got to give them a reason to give you another shot. So in good incoming links or incoming links that actually drive traffic, Ad campaigns could be a good way. Anything that actually brings real visitors to that page that Google can measure and see that, hey, people are interacting with this page, whether you paid to get them there or whether they found you, or it doesn't matter how they got there. They're positively interacting with that content. That's what they really like. That's what they value. So that's something that can get you back in the ring. And then once you're there, then you basically have another shot at proving you belong there. So that's a really good way to look at it.
Yeah, thank you, John.
Sure, yeah. Hey, Lewis, how's it going?
I'd like to share with you regarding the SEO thing you were talking about, because I have a client in the car business.
Okay.
I've worked with him for 5 months, and then we have a gap of 8 months, and they call me back because they have changed the technology behind the website.
Mm-hmm.
So they have done a new redesign with new cars, new technology, new everything. And regarding the SEO subject you were talking about, now when they launch the new site, it was very painstakingly done in terms of technical side. It seems like Google like the site a lot, because in Google My Business especially, from, let's say, the next day the site was changed, all the images of the new cars were instantly in the Google My Business profile, and the site is just very simple. The design is very simple. It's nothing, let's say, very complex, and the site is small. It doesn't even have a lot of content, but it seems like a mix of everything: user experience, content, all the SEO that has been done, plus paid ads. The whole marketing around has somehow make that all of the sudden the site is more appealing to the search engines.
Okay. Yeah, when you do a massive update to a site like that, sometimes it can be helpful, sometimes it can be harmful. One of the things that you want to make sure that they look at is if they rename their pages. Like if you had pages before that were ranking well and you redo the site and you throw all of that out and you don't put like 301 redirects to new content, that stuff can get lost really easily, because then you have a bunch of dead pages and Google just starts eliminating them at some point. And sometimes they'll last for a long time. Like I had a portion of my site where we had a shopping cart and we had stuff that was completely unrelated to our current business. When I deleted the shopping cart, it's been like 2 years now, and some of that stuff is still ranking even though the pages are gone and there's no 301 redirects. So, you know, I think that potentially could hurt by having those dead pages like that. So I don't want, like in my case, I don't want a 301 redirect them, because I don't even want those keywords that are ranked for that stuff. I don't have anything like that anymore. So in this, if they've got stuff they truly want to continue the rank and push it forward, make sure that they identify all of those old pages that don't exist and 301 redirect them to the new content. And if they had a really good user experience before because they had more content and now it's kind of thin, they might want to consider adding some of that content back, or new related relevant content, but in some way to boost that user experience back up to what they had before. So hopefully that helps. It's kind of hard without actually taking a good solid look through everything. But that's some of the stuff, like I see a lot of people, you know, they want to redesign their site, and they have a developer that has no knowledge of the current site. They're just developing a new site, and they're creating new page names and all that. And basically they're throwing out the entire history of that site in favor of a new site, a new version. The new version might be better, might be awesome, but you know, you're losing all that traction of past history, which is kind of a shame to throw out. So, Dina, yeah, go ahead.
Let me bring on my camera here so I can see you. Hi.
Okay. Hey, there you are.
Let me pop in the box here.
Sure.
I feel like Hollywood Squares. Can you
That's
hear me
right.
okay?
That's exactly what we got going on here.
So I wanted to ask you a couple questions, kind of in line when you're launching a new site. How much content do you think you should preload onto that site before you actually launch it? Like how many pages of content or how many blog posts do you think are a good starting point to do that?
Sure. I would probably try and get at least 10 really good pages up. You know, and you're going to have some pages that are just like standard operating pages, you know, like your contact us page, your about us page. But if and it also, it depends on your topic. You know, how many categories of content do you actually have? One of the things in SEO that has been determined long ago from a content standpoint is siloing, which that's the technical SEO term. If you want to know what it really means, it's categorizing.
Okay.
How many categories do you have?
And are you talking about as far as categories, as far as blog posts or categories,
Well,
or in just page categories?
it's basically in categories of, think of it in market segments.
Okay.
Like for a realtor, a category would be buyers and a category would be sellers. So
Okay.
you would have two main silos. And then underneath those two main categories, you would have subcategories. So like in the buyer portion, you might have a buyer segment of the market that dealt with single moms that are really, you know, they need a house, but they don't want anything extravagant. They want to get a roof over their kids' heads and they want to be secure. So that's one category of content. Right next to that, you would have a category of families, growing families that need a bigger house because, you know, they're raising kids and they're having more of them. So that's a totally different conversation. It's totally different content. It's in the silo of buying a house, but it's in a category of that. So you want to try and categorize as best you can. Google loves good categorized content.
So if I could give you an example, this would be for a style influencer website.
Okay.
And the content on that is aimed at a certain demographic, but it's not so much segmented into different demographics. It's all for one particular focused demographic.
Okay.
So I'm thinking the segmentation would actually occur in the categories of the blog post, just the type of content that's being presented. So whether it's video or it's going to be, you know, fashion or beauty or lifestyle, it's going to fall into those segments instead. So would that be more of the category that you would silo that type of segmentation if it's all one demographic?
Yeah, like for instance, in that category, in the style arena, style would be your main topic, right, for your whole overarching website. And then on the home page, what you're going to do is you're going to silo the style. Like you might have one section that deals with hairstyle. You might have one section that deals with makeup. You might have one section that deals with wardrobe. You might have a section that deals with shoes. You might have a section that deals with accessories.
Yeah, this site it's almost finished being designed and it is segmented like that. It actually goes into categories on the home page where it drops down into those categories so that they can go specifically the category that they're interested in.
Perfect. So,
And then it has the online store.
so in answer to your question, how much content should you start with? You need to have enough content to cover the backbone of your structure. So each one of your categories would need a content page at a bare bones minimum. And then basically from that page, if there was more detail, then you might put that into different posts or different pages that keep going down the structure.
Okay.
Ideally, you want to bring someone into your homepage, and then you want to get them to where they want to go as quickly as possible, which is why that segmenting, they can self-select what they're interested in. Like if somebody comes in, you know, they came in under the pretense of style, but really they want a new hairstyle. So they can go right into that section, and then, you know, they can go into the beads, the braids, the curls. You know, I don't know all the topics, but yeah, the coloring.
You did really good. You did really good for having
I'm,
limited knowledge in the hairstyle department.
I'm trying. Yeah, I don't have a lot of hair to deal with.
No, that's awesome. Yeah. No, I totally get it. So in addition to that, let me ask you this, because I deal with, like, on petroliareviews.com, when I'm helping people with their social media, one of the things with social media is, you know, a lot of the platforms they only allow you to have one link in that bio area. So if you've ever seen Linktree, if you're familiar with that, if you create your own back page on a website that's similar to Linktree, how does that affect your SEO? Does it make your bounce rate go up if you're creating your own kind of Linktree type thing on a back page, or does it depend on where you're routing them around to?
When people click on links, that's not a bounce. Like if they come into your site and they click a link and they go somewhere else, that's not a bounce.
Okay.
A bounce is like when they hit the back button and they go back because they didn't find what they wanted.
Okay, so as long as they were to come to that page, and let's say they wanted to, the hope, of course, would be to iframe other sites that had that link there so that they actually aren't leaving to go ahead and view those other things. So it kind of pops up on a page on there. So as long as they're not hitting the back button and they're just clicking through the things that they want, even if they end up somewhere else that isn't on your site, it won't be a bounce.
Correct. And what
But the goal is to kind of route them around as best you can on the site, right? Spend some time.
Exactly.
Please enjoy the site.
Exactly. But what you can do, instead of trying to iframe, because Google can't really read the frame, so it doesn't really like that. What I would do, I would just put the code on the link to open the link in a new window. That way your window stays open, so technically they're still on it. And then they're opening the new window, which means your window is staying open underneath for an extended period of time.
Okay.
So talk about a way to keep somebody on the site.
Yeah, I would love to do that, especially with the videos, because that's kind of like, you know, you fall in the rabbit hole and an hour later you're like, wait, what was I supposed to be doing? Oh, that's right, I watched all these videos.
Yeah.
So that would be perfect if it just opened in another window. So instead of iframing it, then you do that. You just let that new window open onto your site and let them hang out on your site. And when they close that window, it'll still count as if they were on your site, because when they close the linked window, they'll still end up back on your site, and maybe they'll go back and continue shopping or go look at something else or read something else.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Another thing too, if you guys have a high bounce rate, or you're concerned with bounce rate, there's a plugin that, if you have a WordPress site, there's a plugin that you can put in there that will eliminate the bounce. And what it does, it rewrites the browser history. And I wrote code for this many, many years ago that you could put it on any site. Now there's a WordPress plugin that does the same thing. And what it's doing, it's rewriting your browser history. So when somebody hits the back button, they don't go back to where they thought, they go to where you want them to go. Which what I do in that case is I send them to an oops page of, you know, like, oh, sorry, you didn't find what you wanted. How can I be of further assistance? And it's like an exit pop. And some people have said, I mean, they throw the argument out of, well, people are going to get pissed off if you do that. Well, they're already pissed off. They're leaving. This is your last shot at redemption.
Okay.
So I would, tend to look at that if you've got a high bounce rate, because that can help eliminate that bounce.
Okay.
And I'll put that in our resources. I think it's already in there, but if not, I'll put a link to that.
Okay, that would be great.
Resources section. But that's a really cool plugin for WordPress. And you can configure it to where it doesn't do it all the time. You can say, like, only do this 80% of the time, so it doesn't look like, you have zero bounce. And you don't have to put it on all the pages either. You can put it on just some of the pages. Like if you have particular pages that are having a high bounce rate, you just want to fix those, you can do that. Because as anybody that's followed me for any length of time, that everything I try and do it as naturally looking as possible. So it does truly look like there's nothing fishy going on here.
So when you're first launching the site and you have that content, you're not going to have as much traffic. I mean, the site that I'm getting ready to launch, I already have over 50,000 followers on social media. So I'm hoping with the social media push, as soon as we launch it, they'll be going over there and hopefully enjoying content. I just want to make sure it's loaded with stuff that they enjoy and want to consume.
Yeah.
But now this is going to sound like a question. How do we measure the bounce rate? Like how, I know in the beginning phases, it probably isn't going to have a whole lot of information or statistics or analytics. At what point, when I start measuring and looking at that, like what's a good time frame to look at that after launch to see, to get a good screen, like a good idea of if it's working or not, or if, or if it's just that it's a new site and they're just getting used to going there?
Well, you'll have, if you connect Google Analytics to it, you should be able to see the bounce rate immediately.
Okay.
So if you do a push to it and all of a sudden, from this particular push, let's say you take your Instagram followers and you push them through and you have a massive bounce rate. And then you push your Facebook followers through and you have a very small bounce rate. You're like, okay, what I understand now is my Facebook followers, I was speaking their language.
Right.
But I wasn't speaking the language of the Instagram followers.
Right.
So what that—
Two totally different demographics, yeah, age-wise.
Exactly. So that tells you need a new content category for them.
Okay.
That way you can send them there, and then two things: you'll have a better experience for them, you'll have a lower bounce rate, and you'll probably sell more because you'll resonate with them a lot better. That's where the conversion piece comes in. Even more important than traffic is when the traffic comes, you're able to convert them. Because if you can't convert them, then all of your efforts to get them there is kind of for naught. So that's kind of a big thing. It's like the chicken and the egg. Do we focus on conversion or do we focus on traffic? Well, in my opinion, you focus on the conversion first. So when you spend the time and spend the effort to drive the traffic, it actually works for you. Hence the ACT program. T is the last step, the traffic. That's the T in ACT, is the final frontier.
And when you're using with the style stuff, it's a lot of affiliate because they get to see the style, they get tips and tricks for the style, and then they get to find out where to buy that style. So they're able to easily go there and see it. So when they're going to those affiliate links, again, it's going to be a situation where it's going to be more the conversion versus the traffic, because you're going to get them there with the traffic. They're going to go there, they're going to shop. Then maybe when they close the window, it's going to be the same kind of situation, like where you said, keep the window open.
Can I just—
and then when they click out.
Can I give you like the golden gem of the Nile right now?
Yes. I got my notepad. Come on, give it.
Okay.
Of course.
A minute ago, or a little while ago, we were talking about Kartra.
Yes.
What I would do in favor of just sending them to an affiliate link is whatever that affiliate link is for. Like, let's say that affiliate link is, we'll just say for shoes.
Okay.
You're talking about shoes, you're talking about style, you're talking about the the top rated shoes, whatever it is. I'm just throwing stuff out here. If you connected that to, like, let's say a major star that showed up on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I don't even know what that is, but let's just say it's a
right, like the red carpet.
Yeah. And you say, if you want to know what 3 shoes she chose from to get these and the ones that she didn't wear, go ahead and opt in and I'll send you the list. And that way, now they've opted in before you sent them to the affiliate link. So you have some intel on this person. You're like, this person likes shoes. This person's interested in this particular star, and you could follow up with an email sequence. And you could just kill it with your sales doing that. Instead of just sending them through a link, buy or die, you either got a commission or you didn't, but you don't know anything. Think about the power that that would give you. And to follow up, maybe they didn't buy that pair of shoes, but maybe you have another one they might like. And it would put
So
them
it'd be interesting to see, because doing the influencer stuff, it's fast and they tend to like a variety of stuff.
Yeah.
And so if they opt into the email, I don't know if I'd want to do a call to action on every single post for every single product per se, like, you know what I mean? Like, have them, like, target them that way, as much as I would just like to provide them the information if they want to go there and look at it or buy other stuff from there.
Yeah. The other thing you can do too is you can have link tracking. With Kartra, once you've got somebody that's opted into your site one time, they're in your database now, so Kartra can track them. So let's say you get them in once, and then you've got 50 other affiliate offers for them. You can target them by, if they click a link for a particular thing, it can add a tag to that person now. And then you can
I like that because it's like,
Yeah.
when they come off my social media that I have, I can see the purchases because the affiliates will send me the income for what they've purchased, but I don't get the specific information as to who made those purchases. I can see the amount that they purchased and the amount of things, or if they used a coupon code that happens to be related to something that I did, or if I'm doing a sponsored post, that kind of thing. I get that kind of information, but I don't get the detailed information. So when I launch that site, I definitely want to have those kind of analytics to at least be able to see. And I love the idea of being able to, if I notice that a certain person really loves makeup palettes, or they really love shoes, because it seems like a lot of people kind of have their favorites, some people love dresses, it would be nice to be able to retarget those. So when I do a particular article or a video or something, to be able to retarget or even email them and let them know, hey, don't miss this. I just put out a video on dresses, and I don't want you to miss it if you didn't get a chance to catch it. So that would be cool. I'm interested in looking into Kartra.
Yeah, because if they click the link, it adds the tag, and then the tag can trigger a sequence of events, which is just awesome.
I like that.
So for any of you guys that are doing any kind of affiliate marketing or MLM marketing, your goal is to capture as much data as you can before you send them over to make the sale. Because a sale is a buy or die scenario. When they click your link, they're going to go across, and what's going to happen is they're going to get on that person's mailing list, not on yours. And then that person's going to collect all this data on them to figure out how to sell this person. You want that power on your side of the fence. Before you pass them over there, you will make so much more money in the long run by having access to that data and those analytics on your side that I can't even tell you how much more powerful that is. It's infinitely more powerful. You can go back at any given time. Let's say you come across a new offer now. How would you like to reach into your database and grab everyone that was interested in something similar and be able to put it right in front of them right now? instead of trying to wait for new traffic to come to see who's interested at this point. Or another thing, how many of you guys get like tons of emails and you get them all from the same person? And pretty soon, after you get 4 or 5 a week, you start ignoring them.
Right.
Because they're not relevant.
Right.
If you sent one very highly relevant email to your prospects that hit them exactly where they live and is exactly what they want, once a month, they'd be looking for it instead of throwing 4 or 5 a day in the trash.
Right.
So it's like it gives you so much more advantage to have that access to that information. It makes you a superstar. It'll turn you into Superwoman.
Well, I love the idea of capturing the information because social media is so powerful. And when you're on there and you're using all that, if they're just pulling the affiliate link or the coupon code directly from there, it's great because you still get your commission, but it would also be, it's really important to diversify it and have them also on your website and getting that information, getting that email list, because you never know. Social media platforms have problems. They go down, things, issues happen. So you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So.
Sure. But I have to tell you, I would take an opt-in over a sale, over an affiliate sale any day of the week. I would prefer the opt-in because I know over the next 10 years, I can go back and I can make multiple sales off that opt-in. If I just make the sale, I made the sale, I got the money, but now what do I have? I got nothing.
No, that's great. So what do you think about this generation of, so the newer generation, right? The newer generations we're seeing emerging, these new demographics, the younger demographic. They tend to be really quick, and sometimes they're not website dwellers. They really love to stay on the social media. And if they do go to a website, it's maybe for something really quick in particular. So have you seen a big shift in blogs and websites and SEO due to that demographic shift?
The biggest shift I've seen is the shift in mobile users. All of these new users, this new generation,
right?
They're not desktop users.
Right.
They're
doing it from their phone.
Yeah, this is their desktop right here.
That's right.
Or
their iPad, right?
Yeah. So when you're developing your marketing messages and all that, that's one of the reasons why social media is so popular with them. It's formatted for those devices. So if your website is not formatted for those devices and you're trying to push them from the place where they're comfortable into a place that doesn't work for them, that's a problem.
So you mean having it mobile responsive, or do you mean
Yeah.
the way that it looks when it's in a mobile responsive, make sure it has a
Yeah.
similar look and feel, so it's kind of aesthetically similar, so they feel comfortable and consume it the same?
Yeah, it's not just about whether it passes mobile friendly. That's just a bare bones minimum test. You want to make sure it's actually mobile user friendly. So it looks, they're comfortable in it. Look at the social media sites, look at how they're developed and try and emulate that. Because if they can move from the social media to your site and it looks the same, why wouldn't they be comfortable with that? You know, if they're going to a new world where they have to figure out how to navigate and it doesn't look the same and they don't feel safe. This is
well, I get that because I spend so much time on social media and training on social media that when I do go to some people's sites and they have like overload of information and just stuff everywhere, it looks like a mess because you're so used to seeing the social media. It's so clean. It's so put together in just a very simple way, and it's easy to consume. So I can totally relate to that. Seeing some sites and you're like, whoa, too much information all at once. Let's just break it down.
Yeah, the other thing about this younger generation is they're not very trusting.
Right.
They do not take things at face value. They're so used to people lying to them that they don't trust anyone. So
Well, and they're very quick too. So they
yeah,
spend less time making a decision also. So if they get there and they just don't like something, psh,
yeah,
they just
they're
swipe off. They're
finishing.
done. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but reviews, I mean, you're in the right place, because when they come to a review site, that's what they do. They see something, they want to see, okay, what somebody said about it before they buy it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they're making
Yeah.
the decision. So
Yeah,
you're,
they're very interested in seeing the clothing hauls, and they
yeah,
want to see how it fits. They want to see what, how the fabric is, what's the quality, did it get to you in time with the shipping? So and I love watching it too.
yeah, yeah.
I get a lot of my information that way. I love seeing what other girls have gotten, and the same exact stuff that they like, I like too. So I get
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
It's a good way to get information. Okay, thank you. I don't want to take up all the time, but thank you. That
Oh,
was perfect.
awesome. My pleasure. All right. Mariette, did you want to hop out? There, I unmuted you if you want to talk. No, I guess not. Okay. Let's see. Just looking at my questions here in the chat. Okay, Marriott wants to know what is important to include and not include for descriptions and titles in SEO. That's a really, really good question. What's most important about your title of your site and your description is that those are what shows up in Google. Like if Google is to list you and rank you on the first page, that's what the people are going to see. They're going to see the title and they're going to see the description. So for you to control that is very, very important. Now, it used to be that you wanted to plug your keywords in there and you wanted it to be very keyword heavy and loaded for the search engines. But that factor, yes, it's still there, but it's not near as important as the interaction factor. So if you can craft your titles and your descriptions in a way that's compelling, that gets people to click, that's the most important thing. So having your keyword in there, yes, that's important, but more important is that they click. Because if you don't get the click through, it doesn't matter what's on the other side. It doesn't matter how good your site is. It doesn't matter how good your specials are. Doesn't matter. Nothing matters if they don't click. So that's your opportunity to actually get that conversion of that click when they see you in the search results. So title and description, that's all you have. That's all that's at your disposal, with the exception of if you're on YouTube, then it'll have your icon, your video icon next to it, which is very appealing. Anything you can do to make your search result look different and stand out is going to give you an advantage. So that is something that can give you an advantage over anyone else. Another thing is if you structure your meta tags, your metadata, so it has schema tags in it. Schema is a way that Google has a better look at categorizing your site. It gives it some additional data, like it'll tell what field you're in, what market you're in, because there's some stuff out there that has different meanings. Like I'll just throw an example out. Cougar. Cougar is an animal, okay? Cougar is also a car from the 70s and 80s, and it's also a woman. So, if your site is Cougar, Google needs a little more information. What kind of cougar are we talking about here? So that's where schema can come in. And schema can give you some graphical ways, like schema can also put ratings on your site where the little stars show up. It can also put in, if you've got prices, there's price tag schemas. If you notice, if you ever see like a Walmart listing, a lot of times there'll be an inventory in stock. So if you're looking at a listing and here's a listing that says in stock and here's a price, you're probably much more apt to click on that because you're curious. You're like, wow, that's cool. None of the rest of them have that. So anything you can do to stand out, to make your titles stand out. There is
John, can I jump in for a second?
Sure.
With the schema? Is Yoast SEO the best you would advise for that? And also, I think a couple of years ago, I think you were against Yoast. Now you will go ahead and do it. It doesn't.
I
It's not gonna.
I still am not real fond of Yoast,
Oh,
particular.
really? Still.
There's a lot of people that are not fond of Yoast. There's several of them. I mean, one of the things I hate about a lot of those plugins is it says it puts a description tag right in your site of SEO by Yoast. It's like, really? We want to advertise we're doing SEO, particularly with Yoast?
Where does that show up?
That shows up in your metadata. It's not visible
Okay.
on your site, but it's visible to the search engines. So,
I just hate seeing the yellow, red, and green light. It's like, come on, give me that green light.
I mean, you know, it's probably not as bad as I originally thought it was going to be. And I get, you know, you like the green light, but as far as like it being the best for adding schema tags, a schema tag's a schema tag. So, you know, however it gets in there, I don't know that it really matters. It's the content of the tags. And you're going to be entering that anyway. So I don't know that one is, you know, any better than the other. But there's all-in-one SEO plugin. There's the Yoast plugin. Yoast, basically their beginning freebie plugin is very limited. They basically try and upsell you into their mega plugin, which has all the different little bells and whistles that you probably would want anyway. So, but anyway, yeah. And Anthony, back to your original point, I'm not near as against all of the WordPress stuff as I was in the beginning. I was really concerned that Google was going to go after them because I had heard from people inside Google, they had identified that 80% of their issues with SEO problems were directly related to WordPress. And at that point, me hearing that, I'm just like, my antennas went up and I'm like, get all my clients off that thing right now. And
So when Google sees, for example, when the robot hits a site and sees Yoast SEO or sees SEO plugins, it doesn't really register now in terms of ranking. They're not really, they don't care. Too many people are doing it, just like too many people are on WordPress.
Yeah, they know it. And it's not the thing about too many people are on WordPress. I guarantee you Google does not care how many people are using it. If they're going to wipe something out, they don't care who goes down with it. They really don't. But what they did was absolutely brilliant on their part is they found a way to not wipe out 80% of the web. They found a way to put something in play, which was a new algorithm, and it's RankBrain. So rather than try and wipe people out for the platform they're using, they decided, why don't we just look at the user interaction and start valuing sites that are actually good? So again, that eliminated my concern for WordPress getting hit or any of the plugins that are being used. I really don't believe that's an issue at this point.
Okay.
I did at one point, and I was very against them. You probably remember how adamant I was about that. But that is basically off my radar at this point because of what they've done. They have no reason to go after that stuff now. They don't care. All they care about is what was important to them originally was that they provide good user results. They provide what the users came to them for. And as long as they're in alignment with that, they're happy. So as long as you're in alignment with that, they'll be happy with you, regardless of, you know, what platform you're on or what plugins you're using or any of that stuff. So, all right. Anybody else before we wrap it up here? next week, for any of you guys that don't know, I'm going to be in Cabo, and we're going to have the other Anthony on. He's going to be running the call. He is our Facebook expert. So if you've got any questions about like Facebook ads, Facebook campaigns, he's going to be our speaker next week, and you guys can pummel him with all your questions about Facebook. So,
John,
yeah, go ahead, Cheryl.
I was looking at the stuff you did on my website. It looks really cute. I like it. Do you have time to talk after this meeting?
Yeah, you can pop back on. I've got a few minutes here, and I don't have a lot of time, but I've got a few minutes here.
Okay, thanks.
So, all right. Well, that's it for this week. I'm going to miss you guys next week, but I'm going to be catching fish, so I'll get over it.
Hi, John. John?
Yes.
Oh, it's Melody. Yeah, my Bluetooth wasn't on before. That's why I couldn't say anything.
Oh.
I sent you in Basecamp. I sent you the flyer and everything. Can you please redo that and get back with me, because I need to get it printed?
Oh, that was done an hour ago.
Yeah, you are wonderful. I haven't looked because I've been watching your event ever since. Okay.
I got it right before I hopped on here.
Okay, and then if we can talk later before you leave, today or tomorrow, in other words.
Okay, yeah, I'll be around tomorrow. I've got it
sounds great.
Right after here, but tomorrow I'll be in the wheelhouse.
Thank you. Okay, great call. Thank you.
All right, guys, we'll talk to you week after next for the majority of you. Have a great week, and I'll bring home the bacon or the fish, rather.
Are you sharing your fish with us?
Sure.
Lobster, please.
I'll see what I can do.
No fish for lobster.
All right, bye-bye, guys.